Millions of residents are in financial trouble after losses are being calculated nearing $47 billion as a result of damages incurred this week from high winds, Category 4 Hurricane Ian. And the biggest problem that most are going to face is the liquidity crisis that the insurance companies are currently undergoing. And CoreLogic calculates catastrophic losses that will not be able to be paid for through these claims by either way of insolvent insurance companies and or unprepared homeowners without flood insurance, and business owners too.
I was about to say, don't forget the businesses. It's not just the homes. There may be a lot of businesses who didn't think they needed flood insurance because they weren't in a floodplain, and then here comes this hurricane and just ruins everything.
So you have wind and storm surge losses from Hurricane Ian, which they're saying could reach as high as $47 billion. And this is from the property analytics firm CoreLogic. $47 billion.
That's Florida alone.
That's South Florida.
That's just South Florida. That's not even taking into consideration how it says another wave of hurricane hitting South Carolina, and then you're going to have Georgia issues also.
And South Carolina, yeah. So, but the part of this is now, granted, there are reports saying that this is going to actually boost the economy through the repair and restoration.
Yeah, in theory, but first they have to be able to get all these materials. We've had issues throughout the country just getting materials on a regular daily need, and now you have to get just an exorbitant amount of materials to fix all these issues. It's going to take forever. So it may help the economy, but it's going to be spread out.
Well, not to mention the amount of time that it would take. These people, they need these homes, they need these businesses, they need it now. Mm-hmm. And we have the possibility that these insurance companies don't have the money to pay to restore, to repair. So you can't boost an economy if there's no money to boost it.
True, very true.
I mean, they're going to be writing checks that they can't cash. And you add on top of that, inflation is at a 40-year high, interest rates near 7%, and the labor and building materials are in short supply. Recovery will be slow and difficult, which is just more salt poured on the wound with these insurance companies or those who are not insured or underinsured coming out of pocket to try to pay for this. This could potentially lead to a very serious housing market crisis in these areas, which could force homeowners to walk from properties as they're just not worth it.
Well, you got to look at it from a different way too. So all these homes that are destroyed, right? The people who are waiting for their homes to be rebuilt will now go find apartments or other rental homes to jump into, which is going to take those options away from other people who need it.
It's going to drive up the prices on those.
Yeah, everything is going to go through the roof, and then you're going to have more people who are going to be home insecure, basically, because homeless.
You think about how many people are technically homeless right now,
and then how many more? Yeah.
Because that were 3 days ago, they were not.
They were not, and now today they are.
All of a sudden, snap of a finger, they're homeless, some of which extremely unprepared financially, physically, mentally.
Yeah.
Power is still not restored. Water is still not on for some. And it's not, and then think about it. Some of these folks that thought that they were prepared with a pantry full of food, you don't have a home.
Gone. Yeah, and your pantry full of food is gone. So all the money you have put in to preparing for, SHTF, whatever else, is just poof, be gone. So
CoreLogic says that Hurricane Ian will forever change the real estate industry and city infrastructure. Insurers will go into bankruptcy. Homeowners will be forced into delinquency, and insurance will become less accessible in regions like Florida.
I mean, you have to imagine that's going to happen, that the more issues there are with natural disasters and things like that, and the more they have to keep rebuilding and everything, that it's going to be, if you want insurance, you're going to have to pay probably more than your mortgage payment each month just to cover your home.
Well, this reform to city infrastructure is going to address the damaging floods.
You got to think that watch there be high walls everywhere. So now it's going to be like you're living inside a compound because they're going to have to build something to keep the water out, technically.
But until they can do that, insurers are probably going to be forced to pull back out of that market, and it'll be an underinsured market. It is. They're saying that this is a wake-up call, which is going to spur stronger building codes and more resilient infrastructure. And until that happens, I don't see how an insurance company could come in unless your premium was just astronomical.
So, we were talking, I think it was yesterday, maybe it was yesterday, about Walmart going through Walmart bankruptcies, right? Imagine how many insurance companies are going to face or go through bankruptcy, and you've been paying monthly or yearly into this premium in order to have this coverage, and they're like, man, I hate it for you. And now you're out of every single dollar you've ever put in, and you're not going to get anything back.
And those who weren't necessarily affected will still
be affected.
Yes.
By the price increases.
Well, by losing their insurance from that carrier that goes bankrupt.
Oh, that too, yeah.
They're not just they're national companies.
I didn't even think about that. I was thinking, when they have to raise their rates to help cover stuff. So you're coming in, you're moving to Florida, you need this insurance. They're like, hey, 6 months ago it was $200. Now it's $700 for the exact same coverage.
Unbelievable. Breaking news from This Is John Williams. Hurricane Ian to leave entire state without insurance. You guys should check that video out. But it says that, massive, these are some of the comments.
Okay.
Massive migration to Florida drove prices out of control. Big price drops coming. Yeah, big price drops are coming. I mean, these are going to be distressed properties.
Yeah.
These are going to be distressed properties that need to be renovated and restored.
You know what? And now you got to worry about when you go into these areas, you have to really do your due diligence in the appraisal before to make sure there is no mold damage that's been just covered up, because you're going to have some contractors that come through and just put Band-Aids on things and don't actually fix things correctly. And you're going to have mold issues, foundation issues, all kinds of stuff. Oh,
yeah, especially with those that could potentially be underinsured that are paying out of pocket.
Yeah, the quick fixes, and then they dump it and go.
And again, this is during record high inflation.
Man.
Record high inflation that the Fed, Jerome Powell, they said that we are going to feel pain. This is not even, he wasn't even talking about these events that add to the pain.
Yeah.
But one of the comments says we're fighting 8.5% inflation. In parentheses, more like 35%, with a 1% Fed funds interest rate hike. It's not even 1%, it's 0.75%. They're saying it is like stopping a forest fire with a bucket of water.
I mean, you got to think about it. We, as a nation, kind of, sort of, as a world at the same time, you keep taking hit after hit after hit, and right when you think that maybe you can slow down and breathe and, step away from the punches, here comes another one. And I mean, it's just going to keep going.
Now, here's a question proposed by one of the commenters, and it says, do you think Joe could direct some of those Ukrainian funds into repairing Florida?
I don't think Joe can direct anything into anything.
It says, this is unbelievable. I was paying $14,000 per year in insurance on a $400,000 house on an island in Florida. Then every insurance company started pulling out, and finding insurance became very difficult. What are you going to do when you can't have insurance? Think about it. Think about it if it's like you got to have car insurance to be on the road. If all of a sudden your car insurance company just went bankrupt, now you can't drive legally, you can't go to work, you can't make money, and now you're scrambling to find new coverage, which is probably going to increase their prices as they see their competition being limited. This is a similar occurrence to what we saw with the supply chain. As demand went up and the supply was limited in products and goods, the prices went through the roof. So the products and goods in this instance is insurance companies, and the demand is going to go through the roof in these areas where these companies are pulling out, and it's just going to cause the price to drive up astronomically. And for those who were house poor, those who thought everything was fine, those who weren't putting themselves in positions to make to increase their income, have strong investments, have cash flow producing assets. They're about to feel it.
Now think about this. Now I am not as knowledgeable as I need to be in certain areas, and real estate being one of them. I have some knowledge, but not a ton. But don't you have to have a certain level of insurance, homeowners insurance, if you have a loan on a house, if you go to get a mortgage?
Well, it depends on the lender. It also depends on the state. Different states have different laws and requirements.
Because the question is, you've got all these houses in Florida and you want to go buy a house or whatever. And they're like, well, in order to buy this house, you have to have this level of insurance on it. And now this level of insurance is so incredibly expensive that your house that you could pay $400,000 for, now you have to look for ones in the twos, because in order to afford the insurance, you have to get a lower house.
Well, somebody makes a really valid point here on one of these comments, and it says that insurance rates will go up nationwide, even if you don't live in a storm area.
Oh yeah, they've got to, because what's going to happen is the insurance company, if they're covering more than just Florida, they're going to have to hike it up everywhere else to cover Florida. So it's going to be one of those things where people get mad now that they're paying taxes and doing all this stuff and having to cover other people, but now it's going to be the same thing with your insurance. They're going to hike up your insurance to help cover the people who live in the areas that keep getting devastated.
These are trying times. A lot of families are going to be stretched to the limit, especially those already stretched to the max. Think about some of these lower income families that live in these higher priced neighborhoods in South Florida, but they are the workers, they are the contractors, they are the hospitality, they are the ones, they are the backbone of the economy.
Yep.
Now they're forced out. If they wanted to stay, they can't afford it. They're more than likely renters.
Yep.
And this is just going to be a catastrophic devastation that is going to affect so many that will trickle down and throughout the entire country. As I've told you before, our economies are interconnected and intertwined. This ripple effect will be felt by all.
Fully agree. Not looking forward to any of it.